Did you ever try to change something in your life? Probably you experienced that it's just not so easy. This is a process. So if you feel like you would like to improve something in your life and don't know where to start, we are here to navigate you and help you with powerful steps. My name is Slavomir Hercegova. I'm a Feng Shui practitioner and a joyful creator because I believe that we can create our life intentionally. And my guest is life coach Ali Scheffer. Welcome, Ali.
Hello.
And my main tool is Feng Shui and work with energy in space. What's your main tool for
Belief.
belief?
Yep, that is the tool that I teach everybody because it's a very undervalued thing, but vitally important to our lives. So,
Yeah, and this is also not so easy to believe. Like, oh, I believe that. Like, oh, okay, but I still like, uh,
actually, believing things is easy. It's just a matter of repeating what you want. But all things considered, belief shapes literally every decision you make in your life, and very few people actually take the time to go back and figure out why it is they believe what they believe and whether or not their beliefs are benefiting them, which is the foundation of what I teach: is believe in that which benefits you, not in that which is proven.
yeah. So maybe we could start with the process. Like, imagine that someone is just stuck in life, not satisfied, want to change something, but how to find out like why I'm here in this situation and what I actually want. How can I improve it? Where to start? It could be so overwhelming.
Right. I would actually say that's the hardest part of changing anything in your life, is figuring out what you want to change to. That is by far the hardest part of this whole process. Everything else is pretty systematic. You can just implement the steps and keep repeating them over and over and over again, and it'll eventually take root. But figuring out who you want to be, that's a little bit harder.
So how we can do that? What's your tip?
Well, I think you have to learn how to listen to yourself. You have to develop your intuition. And that primarily just means you need to start doing things that get you to trust yourself. All too often, we use things like affirmations. And I know that affirmations can be very powerful, but affirmations oftentimes they actually create distrust in yourself because you're saying things you don't believe. So instead, I recommend saying things you do believe that are beneficial to you. So you could say things like, today I plan on implementing X, and then follow through with that immediately. And that will develop self trust. And then as you develop self trust, you'll start to listen to yourself a little bit more. And then as you learn and grow, your understanding of the world grows, and that improves your intuition. And then if you can learn how to listen to yourself, you're going to get a pretty good idea of what it is that you actually want. But I think oftentimes the bigger issue is not so much that we don't know what we want, it's that we don't believe we can get it. So then we don't allow ourselves to believe that's what we actually want. So that would be the biggest thing, is just stop contradicting yourself.
Yeah, and I would talk a little bit about how to figure out what like who you are and how to find out what do you believe, because we are expressing our personality in into our space. And if you can look around with like, if you are in your home for the first time and just look around, and what would you think about a person who lives there? There is, I don't know, this color is not very optimistic and something needs to fix. So maybe this person like doesn't care too much about, about her environment, but it does mean you doesn't care about, you don't value yourself. You are not important enough for creating for you because maybe you're not worthy enough or something. So this is like first clue about like, what do you think about yourself, how you treat yourself.
Absolutely. I often say there are 6 avenues of desire. And when it comes to figuring out what you want, you're primarily going to be focused on the 3 avenues of external desire, which would be your physical health, your financial situation, and your relationships. Those are generally where you're going to start looking for what it is specifically that you want. But what you have to know is that all of those things are deeply influenced by the internal avenues of desire, which are your mental development, your spiritual development, and your emotions. And those are probably the hardest things to combat. And that's actually the hardest thing to change as well, because they're so deeply ingrained in who we are, and we view ourselves through the lenses of those three things. We define ourselves by those things, and when you define yourself by something, it becomes increasingly hard to change. So you kind of have to learn to stop defining yourself by your internal uh, cues or desires or history, and learn to look at yourself as a new person right here, right now, every day, able to choose the path that you want at any time.
Yeah, and this is also the process I use to do with my clients. Like, okay, look at where you are right now. Okay, this is your life. This is how it is, and now create a vision. How would you love to be your life? And then we can start to to build a journey, but this vision, like, okay, this is how it is. I believed so far, I believe that this is my only, like, this is who I am, and the only option for me. But creating this vision and start to believe that this is possible for me, and then just find steps. And what I also suggest to do as soon as you have this vision, like, express that somehow, like create a symbol or find a picture that represents your new life or new personality, or just change something in your physical environment so you will get reminder. It's even better than affirmations, because affirmations are words. Affirmations are great, but before words, our brain used to, like, read or understand symbols, and so if you are able to paint something or just draw or find a picture or some object that symbolize your new life, so it helps just stay focused on your vision and not just get back into this old mindset and autopilot, and just that keeps you in these old patterns and old beliefs.
Are you a big
Yeah.
person into like vision boards and stuff?
Vision boards, I used to do vision boards, but then I realized that it didn't work for me because I'm so, like, perfectionist, and it took ages for me to find the right picture and everything. And I tested, like, okay, this vision board could be one form of how you can express your vision, but it's just one form. So I tested, like, just write it down if I couldn't find a picture. Then I tested, like, meditate with my vision, and if I saw some symbol or color or something, so I painted that. Then I tested, like, to get something. What did I get? I tested, like, to download some word or just something specific for a year. So for this year, for me, is just surrender and trust. I was still, like, trying to express that somehow, because it's like, oh, it must be perfect. So maybe not shiny example of this, but I at least I'm still in like, I'm still in this energy, because I still try to find it, so I still get into this energy. And one thing that I tested as well was, like, I journaled, so it was not, like, visible on some visible place, because it's important, you need to see that. But I tested, like, I had a special journal and it was near my bed. So every time I like, before sleep, I just read my vision and things like this. So I could be more consistent in doing that, but these are like a few options you can try, and it really works. And I'm still like I'm trying to do that as like easy and natural for me as possible, because if I want to be consistent, it just must be easy and joyful, because there's so many things to do and I just don't want to put any like other things on this pile of things you have to do. So
Right.
yeah.
And that's not going to help with self trust either. If you have this massive
Yeah,
list of things that
yeah,
you have to
yeah,
do every day, and then every time you don't do it, you're like, I'm such a horrible person.
yeah. Yeah. So, but it's a process. You can test that, because vision board doesn't work for everyone, and then it's like, oh, it doesn't work, so I just can't, you know, change or something, because no, try something else. No.
Yeah, I personally like to practice resolve. That's the way that I generally go about it. So I pick up to three things on a daily basis to focus on. And that's generally going to be in the three avenues of external desire. So, what do I want to do with my physical health today? What do I want to do with my financial health today? What do I want to do with my relationships today? And then what I do is I say, today I resolve to, and then insert whatever it is that I'm wanting to do that day. And this is beneficial because it actually develops your discipline. Discipline is an emotion, if you didn't know that, but you can develop your discipline muscle kind of through practicing resolve. Resolve is primarily what we utilize in order to elicit change in our lives. So if we do this intentionally, we will simultaneously be developing our discipline, developing our self-trust, and be improving our lives at the same time. But for example, if I go with my weight loss program as one thing, I can say today I resolve to eat vegetables before every meal or at the start of every meal. And then when I don't feel like it, which is oftentimes what's going to happen when you have a resolution or you have something that you want to implement in your life, you just go back to the thought and you say, does this match my goal today? Does this match my desire? And when you can get the answer to be, no, this doesn't match my desire, then you can have an easier time implementing whatever change you want to. And then, of course, I don't recommend trying to take things out of your life usually, which I think is something people often do, is they try to take things out of their lives. When in reality, you just need to put something in your life, because all too often, when we take things out of our lives, we wind up with a hole. So if you put things into your life, you will naturally let go of the things that don't match your desire, because you're now putting in the things that do. So when I say I want to start my meals, or I resolve today to start my meals with vegetables, and then I do that, I'm not depriving myself of the other things. I'm not depriving myself of burritos or cake or ice cream or muffins. Those are things that will naturally start to fall away as I fill myself up with healthier choices. So that's something to note. But practicing that resolve is immensely helpful in getting you to be more consistent, because it's a very simple practice that you can go back to throughout the day to keep you on track.
Yeah, and I could like we could put this like a second step, because this is like you need to build new habits. If you want, your goal is to be healthier, you need to change your habits, and exactly, you just can't stop doing something. You need to replace that with, or just put in, yeah. So, and here also, like, you need to like just sit with it and think about, if you want to become this person, like, here is the vision, who you want to become, what result would you like to get, like, what habits like practice this person, and you just need to build a new habit, or just shift what you do. And here again is important to set up your space to be like supportive in building new habit, and make the old habit like more difficult to do. So if you want, for example, instead of watching TV or Netflix, you want to exercise or do yoga, so just put your television on some place where it's not, or even put at least remote control on somewhere else, and put your yoga mat closer, or just if you want to exercise while watching TV, so you can just remove the sofa and just create, just so it's easier to do the new thing, and it's more difficult to get back into the old habit. You need to just change something, because if you are tired and you forget and you just automatically with autopilot, you just go and sit down on the sofa and take the remote, and you forget. But if you realize, oh, sofa is very nice, or where is my remote, or where is something, so it will uh, like get you out of the autopilot, and you will remember, oh, now I'm not watching TV anymore, just automatically I'm the person who exercise or just do something else instead.
Yeah. Well, and I would definitely say that making things easier is very helpful. But something that's also worth noting is that you want to be very cautious of false dreams. Because oftentimes we have dreams that people hand to us, where we then go, well, this is what I'm supposed to want. And that's a very difficult path to go down. So don't try to establish discipline necessarily just because you think it's the right thing to do. First, figure out if it is the thing you want to do. Literally, take the scenario and play it out till the end. If you reach your goal, is that the life you want to live? And if you can do that and say, yes, that is the life I want to live, that is the thing that you should be pursuing. But if it's something that you don't want at the end, don't pursue it. Find something else, because that's not actually your dream. That's a false dream that somebody else put into you that you've been following.
This is so difficult sometimes, like to recognize if it is your dream, because of course everyone wants to have like fancy car and big house and just millions in bank account, of course, like, but yeah, maybe for me it's always like, yeah, I put my hand on my heart, and it's all, yeah, exactly, like try to imagine if this is true, like how do I feel, and or is there something else for me, so
Well, also, how? So, like, go with the millions of dollars in the bank account, for example. Yes, it would be helpful if I had millions of dollars in my bank account. There's no doubt about that. But how I get that $1 million is extremely important to me, because I have absolutely no desire to start a drug ring, for example. That does not fit me as a person. That is not the path I want for my life. So you have to choose the path that also fits you rather than just the end goal. So a lot of people are going to say, well, I need a really good paying job. I need to become a CEO. And while that is a possible path to that road, personally, I would not want to follow it, because you now have to spend 70, 80 hours of work at work every single week in order to maintain that position. You won't have a life. There is no life with that job. You're just work. That's your whole life. So instead, you have to figure out another way. So the way that I'm doing it is I'm building a business, but I'm not just building any business. I'm building a very specific type of business, which is a network marketing business, because that offers me the best opportunity to have the time freedom that I'm also looking for. So the path is also very important. The goal is great, but the path is probably the bigger deal.
yeah, that's why I encourage people to journal about the ideal lifestyle instead of some goal, like how would your day look like, what are you doing, how you will feel your time, what do you do when you wake up, and it doesn't matter how much do you have in your bank account if you are able to do things that matter to you. So it's not only about numbers and goals, it's about a lifestyle. So yeah, this is still that part, like clarity, have the vision of the lifestyle, and then you can bring some, like, connect it with some goals and create a plan how to reach that. But the lifestyle is first for me.
Yeah. Well, and I can pretty much guarantee you, your dream is not money.
Yeah.
Money is the avenue through which you can
Yeah.
do other things. So nobody actually cares about how much money they have. They just want to have enough that they don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And this could be a different number for any person. I'm that happy person that I'm not into like too much luxury, I'm happy in my camper van and just traveling or just doing things that are not so expensive. So because that's me, but it's more difficult for someone who loves luxury, and there's no judgment. There are people like that just love to have big house and everything with that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely not the kind of person that would go yachting, but I do want to have a big house, probably with tons of rooms, specifically because I like having people around me. So having tons
Yeah.
of rooms where I can have all my friends and family stay is great. So a giant mansion with lots of rooms totally fits my dream. But going out
Yeah.
on a yacht and partying with champagne or whatever, I don't care about that. I don't care about private jets. But I do like the idea of being able to invest money into starting a community and creating an impact and changing the world. These are very expensive things, but they don't fit into the stereotypical luxury lifestyle. So there are definitely things that I want personally that do fit into the luxury category, and then there are things that definitely don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is still about the clarity about your lifestyle. Okay, so we talk about the clarity, then we talk about what was the second step? I got lost.
Well, personally, I would say actually the first step is not something that I mentioned yet, which is to ask questions, very specific questions.
Yeah.
There's this guy, I believe his name is Noah St. John, where he wrote a book about what he calls affirmations. Now, this is not actually a new concept. This is just the idea of asking yourself leading questions. So you can definitely read that book. It'll give you some insight. But all things considered, the the concept is universal. I think it's something that people have been using forever. But it's this idea of you want something. So then you have to say, okay, well, who do I need to be to get that thing? And then how do I need to go about becoming that person, and what can I see in the world, or what can I do today to help me become that person? So it's that idea of I guess the first step would still be setting your goal or setting your path, and then coming up with these questions like, how can I become the person that I want to be? Although that could also be a first step, because you're like, well, who do I want to be, and what can I find in the world today to show me who I want to be? So you could use it in any number of ways, but I definitely say those questions are probably the best starting place I could give somebody. Learn how to look at life and say, how can I get what I want out of life today? How can I move
Yeah.
toward that dream today?
Yeah, yeah. And now I remember, like, and the next step is just to build a new habit, so start to doing that, like, every day. Yeah.
Something, yeah, something every day. You don't have to do the same thing every day, but do something that moves you toward your dream every day.
Yeah. Okay. And what next? Next, enjoy your new life.
Well, yes, there is a time thing involved here. Like, you're not just going to get it overnight. And I think that's something
Yeah.
that people struggle with a lot. We all know there's an amount of time that needs to come into play. And this is one of the biggest issues with like the concepts of manifesting, where people are like, you could manifest this overnight. And it's like, well, you can manifest the feeling of that overnight, but we can't actually tell you when you will get the physical thing, because we don't know what that path looks like for you. We don't know what things you need to learn in order to become the person who gets that goal. So, all things considered, we have to just set our goal and then let go of the timeline and just know that it's coming rather than feeling depressed when it doesn't arrive tomorrow or next week. because you have to become a different person in order for that to fit into your life. And that's a process. We don't know how long that's going to take. So here I am trying to build a business and I'm not at my end goal yet, but I know I'm moving toward it. And for now, that's enough because every day I'm doing something that moves me toward that goal. And if I keep going, I will inevitably get there. But so often we give into the fear that we won't get what we want, where because we don't have it, we wonder if we ever will or ever can. And that's the biggest challenge of changing yourself in any fashion, is that belief that maybe we won't be able to do it.
Yeah, and also another thing, and if you are trying to, you have a goal, you try to change your habits or something, sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm moving and everything is great. And after some time, at least for me, it was my experience that after some time, I just again just slipped into the old way without even realizing that. And so it was so annoying, like, oh no, I just, how I could forget and just start over and over again. And this is a process. Like sometimes you just can keep doing that for a few days and then you forget for a few months and then again like, oh my goodness, I just want to be this and you can do that for a longer time and then you again forget, but for a shorter period of time, so improving with time, it could be process, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's every changes. I always like I'm connected with nature and I just try to bring everything or learn from nature. And this is how, these transition seasons come. It's not like now it's winter and the next day it's spring or even summer. It's just how it goes in nature. So it's perfectly okay if you just are not progressing like linearly, but it's like this is a process. This is part of the process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think all too often we think the end goal is what we're aiming at, but that's not what we're aiming at. We're aiming at the journey. For example, if
Yeah.
you decide, I want love or I want to find my soulmate, well, when you find your soulmate, that's not the end. You have to choose
Exactly.
every day to be with that person, to work through all the stuff that inevitably comes up in your relationship, because things will absolutely come up, especially if you have in fact found a soulmate. Now, I don't know for sure whether soulmates do or don't exist, but my guess is if they do exist, you will inevitably wind up with them. That is the very fact of a soulmate. So you don't have to worry about finding your soulmate. Whoever you choose will be your soulmate. That's just the default. But a soulmate is absolutely going to challenge you. That's one of the things that makes them your soulmate. They are, in many ways, your complete opposite. So you are going to fight. You are going to run into roadblocks. You are going to have disagreements. It is inevitable. So we have to choose every day. Today, I'm going to continue to have a good marriage. I'm going to work on my marriage. I'm going to invest time in my relationship. And you have to do that. You have to choose who you want to be every single day. And that is the power really behind change, is choosing who you want to be every day over and over and over again. The vow you make when you get married is just for that day. And then you have to make the same vow every day for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like it's not about the goals. These are just some kind of milestones, and maybe it's not even like the goal. You can realize that, you reach the goal, and then you will realize like this is not actually what I wanted, and then you can work, just go for another one. But the journey is the point. Like don't forget to enjoy the journey and just I learned to like stay in curiosity, like, oh, what will my life will bring me, because this is what I would tell to manifesting, because now I like to look at that like more like creating, because manifesting is something you know exactly what you want. Now you have to visualize that and just manifest that, and it looks like a lot of work. oh, I'm going to manifest this exact thing and I'm just thinking about it. But creating is more like an artist. Sometimes he just doesn't even know what will like the piece of art, how would it look like, and you just let inspiration to just guide you. And with my life it's the same, like I'm open to what universe has for me, or what my soul like sign up to, and I don't need even to manifest some specific goal, because I'm just open for what is best for me and
Yeah,
enjoying
well, and
the
that's a
journey.
good point
Yeah.
too, because I think the most common researched question about manifestation is how do I manifest a specific person, like my
Yeah.
ex or whatever. And that's always an interesting question to me, because you shouldn't, even if you can, manifest a specific person, because you don't know what you need.
Yeah.
You don't know what is
Exactly.
best for your life. You need to go with the flow, which means you need to be open to new possibilities, somebody that you haven't met yet. And maybe that person is your ex. Maybe they are the person you're supposed to be with, but you can't control that process. All you can do is choose to be the best version of yourself. And if they are the one that is aligned with you when you become that person, they will come to you. You don't have to try. So rather than going for something specific, I usually say, don't worry about manifesting in general. Figure out what you want and just move toward it. But figure it out in general. Don't go with something specific. Like, don't say, I want this one particular type of car that there are only two ever made in the world. Instead, you could say, that's a really cool car, and I'd like to have a really cool car. And then maybe some way down the line, you'll be a millionaire and you'll be able to manufacture that car yourself. Versus if you say, I have to have that car made by the original person, that's a much harder path. And you can't guarantee that you're going to get there. It could take you a lifetime to wind up getting that car. You may never get that car because there are so few of them. But you could have a car very much like that. You could have an exact replica and still have that car. But because you're not being specific about how you go about it, your chances go up substantially.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like you have a dream, you feel that, and you have some vision, but then but mind comes in the way and tries to figure that out and create something that you already, just something you already experience, and based on this experience is trying to figure out how to achieve that, how to get there. But if you are open and if you stay with the dream, and you are open to new possibilities, so it could be even better, because if you really focus on something, you can get that. But maybe it was not in your best interest. Maybe universe had something better for you, but you missed the opportunity because you were
So
so
focus on that.
so
Well, yeah, and that's
focused on that
exactly
one
how it is
thing.
as an artist too, where if you're trying to
Yeah.
create or trying to replicate a specific drawing that somebody else made, it's never going to be as good as if you just let yourself create, because then you'll create something you never expected. And you'll be like, "Wow, now I'm the artist," rather than just copying what somebody else did. And I think you experienced that too. You're a painter, right?
I paint, but like not professionally, but I'm
Well,
enjoying
no, I'm not talking
that.
about professionally. I'm just talking about painting or
Yeah, but
creating in general.
yeah, I paint, and it's always like I really struggled before with this perfectionism and with this, like, I have some idea and I have to, now I want to look like this, and I'm trying, and it's still like not that. I don't like it because it's not like how I envisioned it. But now I'm more free in that, like, I try, and it's sometimes I'm surprised, like, oh, look at this. So yeah, and it's more like I'm enjoying more the process, and the same is in life. You can enjoy your life more if you are just open to new possibilities and not fixated on just this one result.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of me with art quite a bit. I'm a drawer. I use pencil. That's my medium. on paper, just pencil on paper, usually mechanical pencil, despite the fact that I know you're supposed to have like the professional pencils or whatever. But I was always a doodler. So I would just start with a line and then I'd add another one and then I'd add another one. And then I'd wind up with something really cool looking. Sometimes it'd be a face, sometimes it'd be a design. A lot of the time it had something to do with flowers because the shape is just really appealing, but flowers and like vines and things like that, and you'd get some really cool designs, and people would tell me they were awesome, and they were awesome. I really enjoy them, but that's not something you can make intentionally. You just got to go with the flow. You can't make that piece of art with a plan. A plan isn't going to get you there. You just have to go with the flow. You have to draw it one line at a time and see what happens. And I'd say life works a lot better when you do the same thing.
Yeah, so maybe we could wrap up this conversation with this, like stay open. So if I could like make some conclusion or something, what were these three steps? So at first ask yourself what it is what you really want, and be like true to yourself and ask questions, figure that out. Then just think about, okay, if I want to be this person, how this person just go with life, what this person do, and build new habits, change your environment, and then just be open to the universe, like how this will just unfold for you.
Know
And
that it's coming and be open.
yeah,
Yep.
enjoy the journey.
Hmm.
Enjoy the journey. Yeah. Okay. So, is there something you want to add to this conversation, like at the end?
I would say be easy with yourself, be very forgiving, because oftentimes we give ourselves lists of things that we need to accomplish and then we beat ourselves up for not accomplishing them. When the reality is, you will mess up. You're learning new skills. Failure is a part of that process. So don't freak out when you mess up. Just try again tomorrow. Try again later today. Whatever you want to do, don't judge yourself for messing up. Know that it's part of the process. Know that you're moving toward the person you want to be, and forgive yourself for the mistakes you make.
Yeah, yeah, and look at every mistake like just new experience, a new lesson. So yeah, great. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for watching, and see you by the next episode. And if you please share your experiences with life changes in the comments. So see you. Bye.
Bye.